Good evening to you all. This is James at mypeexam.org. Well, actually, specifically from my house, my elder daughter's bedroom, broadcasting this because it's the quietest place in our house. So, look, tonight's session is going to be quite quick, quite dynamic, and we're going to go through these 8 kind of considerations that you might want to take into account if you're considering signing up for mypeexam.org with this calendar year. Okay, so for 2015-16. So, look. Most of this is going to be me demoing things. I'm going to show you some features of the site. I want you to understand clearly what the site does, how it operates. I want you to feel confident in it. I want you to know exactly what the site does and doesn't do, and therefore, should you be wanting to go forward with an account with me, with mypeexam.org, then you'll be in a good place to do exactly that. So look, let's get cracking. But look, before we do that, I always like to start in this same way, and that is to draw attention to some of the factors that, despite the fact we're all sort of congregating together on a Monday evening as part of our jobs, but to remember that work is to live the rest of our lives. Like, I mean, what we got here, got my younger daughter Georgina with garlic right on the top of her head while we're on holiday in France with myself, and my other daughter Anna here. It's probably in some restaurant or other in Spain, having just eaten some nice pinchos or tapas or something like that. Here we are on a boat, the 3 of us together, and here I am on the Rio de Sella in northern Spain, Asturias, with my shoulders all hairy and hanging out with a dodgy life jacket on. So I just wanted to make the point here that, everyone works really hard. I see it more and more with people. People really crucify themselves, right? Really giving everything to their work. And I think, we've got to just remember what we do this for. All right, so all that being agreed, let's get cracking straight away and let's discuss this student account. Now, in order for me to do that, I'm just going to come back into the webinar room. You're going to see me ever so briefly. Hi, this is me. I'm James. Nice to meet you if I haven't met you previously. I'm the guy in all those videos. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to share my screen with you, my whole screen with you. And what we'll do from there is I'm going to take you on to the actual website. So here we go. So hopefully what you can see on the screen now is an image of the mypeexam.org website. And we're logged in as a student, Darth Vader. Now, this student's a little bit questionable, a little bit dodgy, kind of does some sinister things, although he did have a lot of promise as a younger person. Haha. So look, Darth Vader's logged in as a student. What happens to Darth Vader? Well, first of all, if he was to scroll down here, he comes to a My Profile section where he can, just change his password. He can put a biography in about himself and so on and so on and so on. But what we really want to know about Darth Vader is what happens when he presses this My Progress button. Well, this takes him straight down to the bottom of the homepage. I mean, look, it literally is the bottom of the homepage. And it takes him down to the courses which he is enrolled for. And if he clicks on this little triangle, we can see that on OCR A2P XViz, that Darth Vader, he knows he is 13% complete on that course. Now, I want to come back to the notion of completion and of mastery learning in quite a bit of detail in a few moments' time. But for now, let's just look at some of the details. We can see some of the quiz attempts in chronological order that Darth has made. So we can see that, this ATP and energy quiz, for example, he's tried it twice here, a 3rd time, and he's eventually mastered it a 4th time. That might seem like, well, that's some notion of a low ability student. Well, I don't think so. I think in this case, this means a persistent student. This means a student has gone through a process of learning and engagement. That's a positive thing. So hopefully Darth would view himself that way too. And the other thing we can do is we can click on the course itself here. I've just clicked on OCR A2P Exercise Physiology, and it will quite literally take us into that course. And we can see here that Darth, he has mastered ATP and energy, phosphocreatine system. And let's just say, for argument's sake, that he was going to go on now to the lactic acid system. Okay, so we click onto this lactic acid system. Darth has already mastered the other 2 lessons that come before that. And we can see here that, there's a little bit of introduction, not too much. And then we're straight into a teaching tutorial, which I guess a lot of you will be familiar with, that I do these things. Okay, so we can play that tutorial. And obviously there's sound in the actual video and so on, but we can play that tutorial and it'll teach us the content, or a better way to describe it is it would teach Darth Vader the content that he needs to develop on this topic. And when he's made his notes, when he's made brilliant notes, when he's developed excellently from that tutorial, he's going to come down here and he's going to take part in a lactic acid system quiz. Now look at this wording. You must score 6 consecutive correct answers, to pass this quiz. So in other words, you have to get 6 perfect answers, not an answer on a variable choice question where you can, where there might be 3 correct answers and you get 2 of them and it's sort of vaguely right. No, Perfect answer. So let's see what this looks like. So let's have a go at this ourselves. Sort the different elements of the lactic acid system so that the chemical breakdown of glycogen to resynthesize ATP is correct. So what order does this go in? Well, glycogen is definitely at the top because that's our fuel source. That's broken down in the process of glycolysis, and we get glycogen. Glucose is then converted into pyruvic acid. Okay, we then get 2 ATPs resynthesized net. Pyruvic acid converts into lactic acid after there's insufficient oxygen. So let's check that. We've got it right. Let's go on to the next question. Which muscle fiber type will be most closely related to lactic acid system? Well, it's the 2A FOG muscle fibers, and we move on. In which of the following locations is glycogen stored in the body? Well, we know it's in the liver and it's in the muscle. So we move on. And noticing we have to get these answers absolutely perfect. Glycogen must be broken down before it is transported. Into which sugar is glycogen converted into during the process of glycolysis? Now we're going to talk about glucose. So we're going to put our answer in there. Which of the following examples of sport and performance will predominantly be fueled by the lactic acid system? So let's have a look at these. 100-meter swimming race. Yeah, pretty sure that's right. 400-meter race. That sounds like a running race. Yes. A full court press in basketball. Yes. A single lift in weightlifting, now that's a PC system. 100-meter race, that's a PC system. A goalkeeper diving full length to make a save in football, PC system. So let's check those. All correct, and we move on. For each molecule of the fuel source glycogen, how many ATP are resynthesized within the lactic acid system? And of course, it's a 1-to-2 ratio. So we go 2, we check, we finish the quiz, and of course now what happens, the quiz updates, it gives me my 100% against the national average of 74% of all the thousands of people using this website. Now a couple of options here. First of all, I can have a look at the leaderboard. I can see that, look, Darth Vader goes in as position number 1. The most recent activity, Sarah's been busy earlier today doing exactly that, as has Emma. Look, look at this activity, look. Emma, look, really good example, working his way up to 6 out of, look at Emma, look here. I mean, I don't want to, you may even know this person, I don't know. But how many of our students would get 83.3% on a test and stop? Well, he hasn't, he or she has gone on and done it again and got 100% exactly as Sarah is done as well. Do you see that trend and how important that is? And you see Darth Vader has done that here. We can also review the questions. These are all the questions that Darth has done. Or he can review the questions and he can see what answers he put and he can see what he got right. And of course, if he got any wrong, what he got wrong also. And finally, when he's ready, he's going to click here to continue. And what's going to happen, because he's mastered 6 out of 6 or 6 consecutive, it's going to move Darth on to the next lesson, in which case we have the aerobic system. Now, if we were to go back and we were to have a look at the exercise physiology course now, we should find that that lactic acid system has updated, look, to be ticked off as mastered by Darth Vader. He has gone through that process and he has done that really, really well. So I'm just going to come back into the Hangout. I just want to talk about these factors a little bit. Just let me stop the screen share. So I hope you can realize, first of all, that from the student perspective, the expectation within the site is that they not only learn from videos, they not only learn from tutorials, but they actually master quizzes, okay? And we'll talk a bit more about assignments a bit later on, but this mastering of quiz is important, right? Because there are many occasions in a student's experience of learning where they'll be targeting something other than mastery. I hope you sort of realize that, you know, for example, a student might be targeting on working at a C grade, or I've already got this many marks on my practical, so I only need a D in my exam, these sort of notions. No, 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 no. We want total mastery as the target. Now, in a traditional model of education, when the student only gets certain access to lectures, certain access to learning activities, certain access to worksheets, the textbook, whatever, then you've got like a fixed seat time model of education. But in this model, when the student can go back, they can take the lecture as many times as they want. A topic which is delivered to them in September can be reviewed again in May just as easily. Then, of course, setting the mastery standard is quite possible. So that's really, really important. All right, next thing we're going to do, let me just take you back to whole screen sharing just for a moment. I did say to you a moment ago, what we're going to do is we're also going to have a look at the notion of a teacher account, okay? So I'm now going to take you through the teacher account, the group tracking, the mastery tracker, and the teacher support. So in essence, we are going to do point 2 to 5 in this next little section. The way we're going to do that is we're going to go back to the website here, and I'm going to log out as Darth Vader, and I'm going to log in as a teacher user. Okay, so I'm going to log in as a teacher user. And the teacher user I'm going to log in as is myself, James Anthony Sims. 4 plus 39, what is that? That's 43, I hope, otherwise that's going to be well embarrassing. And I'm going to log in as myself. Now, the first thing I want you to notice that's different for the site is that we have this black bar up the top, and this denotes the fact that I am a teacher. Okay, I'm a teacher on the site. Now, it works in exactly the same way. I can click on my progress, and I can look at the courses that I'm enrolled for. Look, there are courses here that James Anthony Sims is enrolled for, which are specifically for teachers. Let's have a look at those now. Live shows and webinar recordings using mypexam.org, group work, questioning technique. Let's go into questioning technique and have a look at what the teacher gets access to. Now, in this course, you know, in this series of activities, we've got 13 lessons in here, whereby the teacher can, at their own pace, developing in their own way through their own CPD via the site, they can come into here and they can take this tutorial. This tutorial introduces to a quick and immediately utilizable method of asking questions that provokes and challenges every single learner in the classroom. It also helps learners to share ideas and concepts. This is Showdown. So there's a tutorial here for teachers, which literally shows you, look, put your table in this structure, give your students whiteboards, give your students a pen, ask your question in this way, etc., etc., etc. Now, I'm not going to play any chunk of this, but what I want you to realize is this is literally teaching you how to teach. That's the wrong term. This is guiding you how to set up the classroom so that hopefully it becomes a more effective place. One of the things I learned, or one of the things I believed was when I set this up, was that if people really embedded mypexam.org into their practice, then the classroom may well change significantly. And I wanted to start answering the question of what might it change to. So as a result of that, we've got these 7 teacher courses that you can develop through at your own pace in this teacher support. It's under this tab here, look, just in case, teacher support. So if you come under here, look, we've got questioning techniques, group work, classroom structures, assessment and data, learning concepts using mypexam.org, and live webinars and recording. So for example, the recording of this session we're doing now will go into this course and people can review it at their own pace. All right, that's all well and good. Let's go back to the home page. Now then, a couple of things that, in addition, I'd say is that, of course, we've got down here that James Anthony Sims is also managing students on exercise physiology. So James Anthony Sims needs access to that course to plan lessons, to know what's coming up, to know that students are very experienced. But certainly, it's very important that we understand that there's this dashboard here. So if I click on this dashboard, we go into what is effectively quite a simple Spartan-looking screen. But look, what happens if I click on this button, activity stream? Look at my first entry here, Darth Vader, Monday, September 28th, 2015, quiz lactic acid system. We just saw Darth do this, passed 6 out of 6. In other words, I get real-time data coming into my activity here, coming into my activity stream about what my students are doing. And there's a number of students down here that I can monitor and keep an eye on. So as activity happens, it comes into my activity stream. So think about an example of, say, you've got students in a classroom taking a tutorial and a quiz on their device. You don't need to ask the score, it comes to you. It arrives in real time into this service. Okay, it's very simple, but it sets you off really well. Next point, into overview. I can select the course that I'm interested in for the students. Of course, I've got many choices because I sort of like admin on the website here. But I can look down here. First of all, I can send all my learners a message. You must complete whatever it happens to be, and that will go off to their inbox. I can see that I've got, this is the generalized activity of my students, and there's quite a few of them. I'm just going to keep these ones here. Look, the top 3 students I've got: Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, Princess Leia. I can see the progress that they're making, but it's not enough. It is not enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to export that user info. Okay, so I now get this this little spreadsheet down here. It looks ever so simple, but what I can do is I can effectively, I can pick out, I mean, I'm just going to pick out the data for my 3 sort of phantom students. I've got some real students in here as well. I'm going to close that, and I can use this, what's called the Mastery Tracker, which is completely free and available to you. You can use this as much as you like. And in here, we've got no data at the moment. If I go to this Courses tab, I can quite literally paste the data I've just copied out of that download, and now look at my completed steps. I've now got my 3 students, Luke, Darth, and Princess Leia, and I can see their progress and completed steps. I can see column by column what progress each of them is making. I can see that on an energy continuum, only Princess Leia has mastered that concept, and perhaps she's the one to work with the other 2. So in other words, I can see a snapshot constantly, do this as frequently as I want, daily, weekly, up to you. exactly how my students are performing. So that is very, very useful for me, and I'd really recommend you getting involved with this mastery tracker. I repeat again, it's based on mastery. It's not the idea of people completing something and then getting some grade on it. No, you only get ticked off when there's absolute mastery, and then this variable access model with constant opportunity to go back, forward, to repeat. That is possible to actually aim and achieve that thing. All right, let's come back to where we are. I can also go into this button here, which is called group administration. When I go into group administration, I've got 2 groups here. I'm just going to go into example group. This is an actual real life group, this one. Exercise Physiology, Ashley Gibby down there. It's a real group. But I'm going to go into example group. I'm just going to list my users. And again, we see the same thing, right? The same 3 students. Again, I can put a comment in here and I can email it off to them if I want to, and I'll arrive straight into their inbox. But I can also go individually and say with Darth Vader, I can look at an individual report for Darth. And I can see all of the activity that Darth Vader has done, included the very last activity. Now, what I wanted to picture here, this is just a list of quiz activity, right? But picture a conversation where you've got that person sat down next to you within the classroom, because you've got more time, because you're delivering less, because of the availability of the tutorials. All of a sudden, you can really engage with the student about what is going on in the process of their development and learning with these sorts of resources and other information too. You can say, look, you're doing really well, but we're worried here that you haven't gone onto the aerobic system. Can we make that process? Can we go on to that quickly next and let me know how you're getting on, or whatever the equivalent might be. Let's just go back slightly. The other thing we can do here is I can export the results for my example group. So again, I'm just going to click on this export, and again, I get this little quiz kind of download here. I'm going to click on it. It's ever so simple. Look, I've got all this data. Again, I'm literally just going to copy out of this really Spartan looking, just right click, copy this Spartan looking document here. But now if I get rid of that and I come into my mastery tracker, I put in here for the quizzes tab, I paste my excuse me, data in here. Now look what we've got under quiz activity. All of a sudden, we've got a heck of a lot of data which is analyzable. So for example, if I've set a homework on the lactic acid system, what I can do is I can deselect all. I can select the lactic acid system lesson, and I can look at which students have completed that homework. I can also look at which students have mastered that homework. And in this case, I can see that Luke has mastered, Darth, his second attempt, has mastered, and we can see that Princess Leia is mastered. Now, I'd ask you straight away what you would do with that data, because I would say, okay, Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia, we might even say that, you know, that they accessed that mastery straight away. This wasn't challenging enough for them. They need more rigor and more challenge in this area, so we need to push them with some other activities. Or it may well be that we want to move them on to the next challenge, the next lesson, the next content, because they've mastered that thing. Maybe these 2 students, say, are studying human biology meanwhile. Whereas we see with Darth Vader here, he struggled the first time he did it, and then he had another go and he mastered it. Now that is very exciting, because that's what we want to see, that learning progress being made. Let's put all quiz activity back in. What we might choose to do, for example, is we say, okay, let's now have a look at one student, Darth Vader. What's all the activity, and can we actually put that activity in kind of rank order, so we see all of the things that he's doing well on, and some of the activity where he's maybe struggled at first and then upskilled. Now again, if you do that and then you want to look at ATP and energy, you can really see, I mean, that is literally a profile of learning taking place there. Struggled badly, mediocre, did well, mastered. I mean, goodness me, that is exciting stuff if we see that in the learning profile of any student at any level, at any time, if we see that perseverance, if we see the learning behaviors that get them to that sort of success level. So I want to come back onto the screen a little bit. I'll just go back to the dashboard briefly. I'm not going to go through tonight assignment management here, just to let you know that if students complete the assignments that are built into the site, this is where the documents arrive, and you can mark them here and feedback comments via this tab. It's very Moodle-ish if anyone's ever used that, but I'm not going to go through that because it's quite a long process, so I'm going to leave that for another time. But what I am going to do is I'm going to come back into the webinar room. So a couple of things for me that I think are important. Look, I've stressed this concept of mastery. In a traditional model of education, we cannot expect mastery of learners because they have fixed access to certain experiences. But in this model, we have variable access to the resources that they need to succeed. I'm going to say that again. They have variable, repeatable access, constant access to the resources that they need to succeed. Now, I'm not saying this is a silver bullet. I'm not saying that you can throw mypexam.org at students and leave them in a field and hopefully they'll do well. They need their classroom. They need their teachers. They need the interaction. They need the question, the answering, the one-to-one. They need all those processes. But what they don't need is a one-time only lecture. What they don't need is a climate, a classroom where if they make a mistake, it has to be judged as weakness because they're only going to get one go at it. That's what they don't need. And if that's the dominant activity in classrooms, we have to change it. We have to change it. So this is my attempt at it. There's many other variations, I'm sure, but this is my attempt at it, and I'm very interested to know what you think about that. Excuse me. So let me go back to our agenda. So let's have a look at our agenda. We can say now pretty confidently that we have looked at the teacher account. We've looked at group tracking and downloads. We've looked at the Mastery Tracker, which is that document I just showed you. And the teacher support is all those tutorials. By the way, there's about 95 teacher tutorials in there. Now, I mentioned the voucher code to you here. For watching this session with me tonight. If you contact me and you tell me the code in your email of web25 off, I give you a £25 discount off any account that you set up, which is charged at over £200. Okay, so do consider that. All right, so it's web25 off, and that is a £25 cash discount voucher, £25. Okay, so do consider using that. So we've got our voucher code. So a couple of last things for me. Best practice I want to address for you. I've mentioned this a couple of times already, this best practice, but I want you to realize that there is a preeminent, almost dogmatic structure within our education, which is called the fixed seat time model. And I'd ask any educator how many times they've heard this term used in their experience of education. And I found in the majority of cases, very, very little. And it's amazing in this case. It's certainly the case for me. It was used very little with me, and I had to find it myself. The fixed seat time model literally means that you can count up the single access occasions when a student can make use of a teacher lecturing them, for example, delivering a PowerPoint, delivering a Prezi, doing a worksheet, having some homework set. You can literally count it up. And of course, in the craziness of the modern education system, it's come out in sort of guided learning hours where you can literally say, right, this is the guided learning hours for this course, forgetting completely that there are each individual student who all have their own start points and their own requirements to make the mastery standard. And of course, because of that, if we have a fixed seat time model of education, we inevitably, amongst other things, have one outcome, and that is what we'd refer to as the variable achievement rate. Now, variable achievement rate can be seen, for example, where we see students come out with, some come out with A's, some come out with U's, some come out with anything in between. We talk about that, but more importantly, think about the variable achievement rate within one topic, within one set of skills, within one set of behaviors. Why do we have it in education that we do topic 1 in week 1 and topic 2 in week 2, and no matter how much the student has mastered those topics, we move on? Why is that? Now, I know many of us give more opportunity than that. We do drop-in sessions, we do clinics, we provide ongoing marking, we ask for resubmissions, we do all that sort of stuff. Absolutely, that's because you're good professional people and you care about what you're doing. But that's in spite of the model. This is the model. It's a fixed seat time model at its core. This is why within the fixed seat time model, the optimal achievement is differentiation. Well, why don't we build a model which is in nature differentiated? And what I mean by that is, let's actually reverse this. Let's take a model and let's make that model a variable seat time so that every individual gets the quantity and type of access they need. And that variable seat time will equal, and some of you get ready to disagree with me, a fixed achievement rate. Now, some of you are going to accuse me of saying, well, you know, you can't say that everyone will get an A. That's not my point. My point is this: we might not be able to guarantee that everybody gets an A, although I actually believe it is possible if the statistics of examinations and how we perceive humanity was to change. But I do believe firmly that we can be really confident that every student has mastered topic 1. And I do believe it's possible to be really confident that every student mastered topic 2. Then we have got a fixed achievement rate, and the grade will look after itself. I'm just going to come back onto the screen for a moment here. If we operate it in this way, whereby students make and direct their own progress at the rate that they need as individuals, then as a result of that, philosophically, we get to a point whereby it's perfectly possible for students to have a different start point, different levels of skill, knowledge, behavior, confidence, esteem, stereotyping, access to literature. You can have all those things being different, but the standard can still be fixed really high at total mastery, and all of those students achieve it in individual chunks of learning. And I'm suggesting we do that. I'm suggesting deeply, philosophically, pragmatically as well, that we actually try and do that. I think it's possible to achieve that. Like I say, I can't necessarily guarantee that every student will get an A, but I do believe that if they've got open, constant access to really high quality resources, the chances of more people doing that are much greater. And then if people show belief in those students, think about errors, for example. Errors is a really good point here. In the traditional model of education, if a student makes a mistake, even though there's brilliant teachers in every class, I know that, right? I know there's great people out there. I hope I was once one of them. But how do we see errors in the classroom? Are they indicators, as they should be, that really intuitive, deep learning is about to take place? Because that's really what a mistake is an indicator of by definition. If someone doesn't make any mistakes, it doesn't mean they're learning. It means they're demonstrating something that they could already do. Now, that's not learning. That's demonstration. That's modeling. Whereas, excuse me, if we actually get to a climate where errors can be embraced because there's the opportunity, the space, the flexibility, the individuality, the actual expression of individual learning where mistakes are valued, then as a result of that, we can actually almost be excited by an error. An error can be suggesting to us something good's about to happen, learning's about to happen. Now, if we can build a model like that, and that's a model I want to be involved with, that's a model that I value. Now, if we do it in PE and in maths, history, geography, science, they're doing it in that traditional model, then obviously it's going to be hard, right? But someone's got to start this. Someone's got to move this. And I think that we as a group of people can do this, okay? So, look, I'm speaking very freely tonight. I've got relatively few people in the webinar this evening, so I do feel I can be more honest. I want to be critically clear about this point. The services that I provide, they're a business. Obviously, at the moment, you have to pay for them. They used to be free. I wish, actually, they still were free, but it's unsustainable, so that's that. But let me tell you this. Those schools, colleagues, and there are many already who are investing in this service, you are part of a movement. You are part of a revolution. You are part of an initiative that is going to change things. Now, it's going to change things initially in PE, and bit by bit, it's going to have knock-on effects for other areas of education. And let me tell you now, we will not stop. This will go forward. This will have an impact. This will have a developmental, this will have a real knock-on effect for other areas of education. So I'm asking for people not only to invest because it's good for their students, because they get that mastery learning, because there's a clear educational philosophy behind what I do, but beyond that, to be part of a movement which is going to be really at the forefront and the centerpiece of educational reform as we go forward in the next few years. So that for me is as critical as how do the quizzes work, how do the tutorials work, how do I get access, what's my login. Those things are really, really important to me. So look, a couple of things. If you are, or if you're hearing this, you are in here. For you guys in the session tonight, if you want to post a comment to me and I'll try and answer it directly, you can do that in the chat. I know there's one or two people who've come in to the session sort of halfway through or a little bit late this afternoon, or this evening I should say. You will get the recording of this as well, okay? So far I've demonstrated a lot of how the site functions, how it operates, what the teacher account looks like, what the student accounts look like. You'll be able to review that at any point, but I would encourage anyone out there to ask any question that you want to, and do feel free to do so, okay? So that would be really useful to hear your thoughts. So a couple of things before I sort of start thinking about the questions that are being asked. For me, the website that I've made is a platform which fits in as part of an educational experience. I believe that providing mypexam.org to students, providing support for them, having really the razor sharp data that comes out of the website and that you can analyze in real time, I think that that really can become a significant part of what you offer within an educational model. It's not just a homework thing, but more than that, I think it's also the case that it's really important that we don't forget some of the really critical aspects that can't be done through a website. I'll give you a couple of examples. The website is aimed at humanizing the classroom. What I mean by that is it gives the teacher more time. It gives the teacher more time to engage in interaction with the students. It gives the teacher more data. That data really is there so that the teacher, rather than just projecting grades, rather than just using that blunt data that we often do in education, it gives you razor sharp data to say, right, this student's mastered this student hasn't mastered this, therefore this student's going to work with that student and develop them. Specific knowledge, skills and behaviors that the students have or haven't mastered is the data level that we want coming out of the website. So we want more interaction as a result of that, more humanity in the classroom, more person-to-person contact in the classroom, one-to-one small group intervention. We also argue that the website is one part of the educational model in that you must not take away things like writing exam answers with a pen. You must not take away the opportunity for group work and for questioning. If screen time does that, then we shouldn't be doing the screen time. Screen time, we tend to say, should be a maximum of 1/3 of lesson time maximum. Okay, and the other 2/3 should be given over to human interaction, brilliant questioning, provocation, building, constructing, debating, and so on. So those are the activities we really believe should be taking part in the classroom as a result of the facility that the website gives you and the time it gets you back, and it allows you to reduce the amount of sort of very mechanistic teacher activities that you might do. Now, we can make a good argument that the most mechanistic roles that we can ask a teacher to do are, and I would ask anyone watching this to judge their own workload, their own workflow, and how much of this is included. The most mechanistic things that we can ask teachers to do are to plan, to deliver, and to mark. Now, I ask anybody what percentage of their workload those three things take up, and it's usually quite a big number, so it'll vary obviously for individuals. But if the dominant learning model means that the teacher from school to school all repeating the same things, if we're all repeating the same process, activity, workflow as one another, and it's still producing a really variable achievement rate, then we've got to change something. We've got to make it more efficient. The things that we should be expecting teachers to do is to inspire, is to provoke, is to ask brilliant questions, is to show real compassion in relationships between themselves and learners, and encouraging that compassion between learners themselves. A great teacher is not someone who delivers a course, but someone who brings out extraordinary effort in apparently ordinary people. I'm going to say that again. A brilliant teacher is not someone who delivers a course, but someone who brings out extraordinary effort in apparently ordinary people. And look, I'm not suggesting that my website does that, but I'm suggesting it might free people up to be able to do that more. And that's really what kind of drives me. So as I said before, this is a movement, this is a business, this is a web platform, this is online courses, this is an example of a MOOC. It's a brilliant tracking system that allows you razor sharp data of how your students are performing. But perhaps most importantly, it's a tool which fundamentally challenges the traditional learning structures that take place in classrooms. And if that can be challenged, then we might be onto something that's really, really significant. All right, as I said previously, do feel free to drop comments into the chat there. I will answer any comments that are put in there, and it'd be great to hear your thoughts and to get a little bit of your feedback. I hope that I sort of don't come across as sort of too heavy or overly sort of trying to be overly persuasive with this. Notice that where I come from is very minorly a business perspective and very majorly an educational perspective. And one of those is trying to facilitate the other. So that's how I try and work this. What I will show you, however, on that business side, is I will show you the pricing and how the website actually offers you different sort of packages on the site. Okay, so on the website we have this pricing tab, and the way it works is that if an individual student, can be a teacher as well, of course, wants to sign up for an individual course, a GCSE course, they can buy it direct on the site, and that's £25. An AS or an A2 component is £15. Okay, and if you buy 2 AS components, you get the third one free. So a whole AS course or a whole A2 course is £30. If you are a teacher who wants to manage their groups on the site, then you should have a little look at this. These prices come down if you enroll more than one student. Okay, so for example, if you've got 10 GCSE learners, that would be £200. If you want to track them, then that's £50 for the tracking on top, and the teacher support is likewise £50 for that year. Now, if you get to an account of over £350, the teacher tracking, teacher support becomes free. Okay, so as a result of that, if you are getting up to that sort of number, it is worth getting more teachers involved in this teacher support, or those teacher support tutorials we talked about before. If you are looking to enroll GCSE, AS, A2 groups, you've got multiple teachers in the department, then you should have a look at this unlimited department account. Now, you can have all of your groups signed up, you can have your classes enrolled in the site, you can have teachers managing those classes, you can also have cohort managers or course managers managing whole cohort data. And the other thing I'd mention here is that it's the last few days of 15% off of this right now. Okay, so if you are interested in this department package, it's worth making that inquiry, and you can do so by the site. By the way, when I close the webinar down tonight, you will be redirected to an inquiry page. Okay, so do have a little look at that as we sort of go through. So I'm just going to turn off the screen share while my screen goes a little bit crazy there. So look, I'm gonna sign off for this evening. I'm gonna finish slightly early. Like I say, I'll be on Twitter immediately after the session. If people have got questions they want to ask me, do feel free to post them there. I'll do my very, very best to answer those questions. And if you do have inquiries to make about maybe signing up your groups, signing up your students on the website, then do have a look for that. And I will be posting to Twitter tonight the recording of this session as well. So if you have missed part of the session, you didn't see the first sort of this is how the site works bit, then I would recommend you have a look at that recording later on, and do get into that sort of nitty-gritty of what the site does. All right, I'm going to sign off. Like I said before, you will be redirected to the site. Do make an inquiry if you are interested, and I'll do my very best to provide you the information that you need. Thank you so much for sharing your Monday evening with me, and it's always appreciated, and I wish you a very pleasant evening and a good rest of the week. Take care.